A Spark Primer, Lemuria and Atlantis, Love and War Program Analysis. Introduction. Disclaimer and objective. Introduction. The author's intent for this exercise is to elaborate on the concept of love and war program entrapments which were placed in motion in the construct era of what is now known as Lemuria and Atlantis. Disclaimer. This review and exercise is not intended to provide every answer from every aspect or perspective of the cosmos, nor it is intended to be used as a reference for absolutes, treatise, or dogma. Content is solely conceptual based upon the remembrance and perspective of the author. Objective. The prerequisites to this exercise are A Spark Primer Volume 1, Lessons 1 through 6 and Volume 2, Lessons 7 through 12. The primary objective of this exercise is to help increase efficiency in the recognition of active non-symbiotic energies at work, so that the individual may place intent to transmute them to a constructive symbiotic state. Review of the author's remembrance pertaining to the reality construct era of the civilization of Atlantis will be used for conceptual context. Table of contents. We will begin with a prelude followed by a short guided meditation in preparation for the exercise. We will then review a synopsis of the reality construct era of the civilizations of Lemuria and Atlantis, with a conclusion for post-review analysis and questions for contemplation and practical guidance which may assist in progression in a self-realization process. Let's begin. Prelude. In this exercise, we will review a synopsis of the reality construct era primarily known for the civilizations of Lemuria and Atlantis, and the love and war program entrapments that were set in motion at that time which may be relevant to our course objective. We will refrain from the use of unnecessary dramatic language as to help maintain an objective approach to our analysis. Therefore, the synopsis will be related in a very matter-of-fact tone. There may still be events that resonate with your astral experiential and emotional makeup. If so, make note of those for the post-analysis aspect of this exercise. It is recommended that you set time aside free of distraction, so we will start with a short guided meditation in preparation for this exercise. Ground your physical body. Take a deep breath in, and as you blow out, place your intent to root your astral body. Take a deep breath in, and as you blow out, place your intent to block external influences or transmissions. Take a deep breath in, and as you blow out, visualize going past your physical body to connect with your astral body. Take another breath in, and as you blow out, visualize going past your astral body to that core center in which your source spark resides. Continue your breathing and look for guidance to any energy that is causing misalignment. Set your intent to transmute that energy into a symbiotic state. Take a deep breath in, and as you blow out, visualize your physical, astral, and source spark coming into a centered alignment. Continue to breathe normally and allow your physical mind time to process and translate what has occurred until there is a sense that you can be in the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing. And now our storyline begins. The progenitors who were able to survive and avoid entrapment in the first trauma event were able to do so as their incarnation vehicles were amphibious in nature and able to survive both in and out of water. From the remnants, they began to build a civilization which is currently fabled to be called Lemuria. The original goals and objectives of this civilization was to establish order and education for the sparks that had been processed through the artificial conduit, to attempt to re-establish communications outside of the false matrix for assistance, and to re-establish the Gaia-sphere Foundation connection to the light web. Governmental order was established to help structure the educational process. Communications outside of the false matrix were initially secured by use of limited field interdimensional portals. The terms related to the communication portals evolved over time. Examples include the terms oracle, altar, and arc. The communication centers for these portals became known as temples, while the original intent was never to infer the assistance of those outside of the confinement of the false matrix as gods. Over time, the original intent and understanding of these things became lost. and were easily influenced and subsequently controlled by the controllers of the artificial conduit and the false matrix. There were many councils and collective groups of consciousness outside of the false matrix that initially sought to arrive to bring assistance, but they did not understand or comprehend the inversion from symbiosis-synergetic exchange modality to the amensalistic modality of the false matrix. Many who tried to assist were lost, and decisions were made to quarantine this realm, which had been claimed by the demiurge as its own. While there were many starseeds that still volunteered to enter in the hope to reconnect with those that they had lost, the overall decision of the various councils of the galactic consciousness was to advise avoidance. The initial intent of the leadership of the Lemurian civilization was of a holistic and single purpose to repair the astral soul-mind-ego vehicles for liberation of spark. However, the soul-mind-ego vehicle awakenings were varied. With only partial remembrance, some were more able to work with the oracles, others were more adept to provide sound guidance and practical governance. Others were more adept for the study and implementation of mechanical manipulation of the elements. Over time, this fragmentation evolved into the systems of spirituality, religion, government, politics, and science. This evolution and separation made it very difficult for the progenitors to counter the service to self modality that the artificial conduit was generating. We will provide a brief synopsis of what occurred to compromise symbiosis in each of these areas for analysis towards our course objective. Regarding spirituality, in a symbiotic state, the purpose of the temple was for the re-establishing of connection and communication with cosmic consciousness functioning with the divine law of one. In a service to self-modality, the soul-mind egos of those that could work with the oracles perceived themselves to be more important than others and used their role and position intended for service for all to be manipulated and used for perceived personal benefit or service to self. This perceived personal benefit was an illusion because the only winner in this exchange is the will of the demiurge energy field. Regarding government and politics, in a symbiotic state, the purpose of civic governance was to organize and coordinate the production and distribution of resources for the benefit of all. Those in this role would perceive this role as one of service. In a service to self-modality, deceptions are used in order to achieve a sense of personal benefit. These games of deception became what is now known as politics. This perceived personal benefit is also an illusion because the only winner in this exchange is the will of the demiurge energy field. Regarding science, in a symbiotic state, the purpose of the field of science was to seek understanding of matter-energy transfer in order to help provide adjustment as necessary to maintain the ecosystem of the elemental construct with the hope to eventually restore it to its original divine intent. The original role was to ultimately restore a direct connection between the Gaia Foundation root and the light web of Source. In a service to self-modality, this role sought ways to bypass the artificial conduit process to ensure eternal life for the astral soul-mind-ego for perceived personal benefit. As with everything else, this perceived personal benefit is an illusion because the only winner in this exchange is the will of the demiurge energy field. As the service to self-modality continued to make its way into each aspect of the civilization, conflicts arose, and the service to self-modality of the demiurge conquered the civilization from within. The progenitors were disregarded as being weak and dull in their philosophy of the law of one. The self-preservation programming of the astral mind egos caused them to be easily manipulated and controlled in their illusions of personal benefit. The founding principle of the awakening and liberation of the divine spark for return to the divine consciousness, to the celestial fire, was considered a threat to the existence of the astral soul ego. The astral mind ego vehicles desired eternal life through controlled transfer of consciousness to manufactured elemental constructs of their choice. The civilization divided completely, and what is now known as Atlantis was created. The science of astral mind ego self-fulfillment became the religion of Atlantis. Essentially, connection to cosmic consciousness was replaced by self-worship and vanity of the astral mind ego. They were deceived into replacing connection with the divine spark with interconnection with the equivalent of an astral vanity mirror of self-reflection, which caused ripples of fragmentation within the astral mind ego vehicle. For some, the vanity turned to madness. For others, it turned into despair and loneliness. For others, it turned into an insatiable appetite for the propagation of the illusion of power and control. All manner of chaos ensued. There were no winners in this, as this eventually led to a full construct reset. The Atlantean scientists had managed to create a conduit connection which today is sometimes referred to as a Merkaba, which had potential for establishing reconnection to the light web. This caused great concern for those outside of the confinement of the false matrix due to the catastrophes that occurred from similar misuse of a conduit to Phaeton and what is now known as Mars. Many councils were formed and debates ensued as to how best to handle the situation in the best interest of all. It was determined that the continued misuse of the Merkaba was too dangerous for not only Gaia but for other realms as well. It is uncertain as to what degree, if any, of outside intervention was employed. However, it is believed that the misuse of the device caused significant imbalance to the ecosystem of the construct, which resulted in a sudden and unnatural shift of the magnetic poles, inciting a near-complete destruction of the surface. The device was buried in the catastrophe and became inaccessible. Various electromagnetic and quantum energetic fluctuations and imbalances remain on Earth because of this incident. In the resulting catastrophe, a full matrix reset was initiated by the artificial conduit, and Atlantis became one of many civilizations lost to a construct reset. Which brings us to our conclusion. Take a moment to contemplate the dynamics related to the differences between the energetic exchange modalities of symbiosis and amensalism. Did you relate to any aspect of the synopsis of the era of Lemuria and/or Atlantis? If so, with what did you resonate with and why? Did anyone win in engagement with love and war programs placed in motion within the amensalistic state of service to self? Do you recognize the three components of spirituality, civic governance, and science within our current construct civilization? Do you believe that you can begin to recognize the contrast between symbiosis and amensalism? In spirituality? In governance? In corporate application of science and use of technology? Contemplate as to how you think you can analyze and recognize your personal placement of your identity markers. Is your identity placed on your physical body? Is your identity placed on your astral energy body? Or is your identity placed on the source of all energy that animates the physical and astral body vehicles? When you have time, contemplate these things. Begin to question and analyze the scenarios of love and war programs that may be in operation in your life or in the lives of those around you. Contemplate how and where you can put your intent to process those energies so that they are functioning in a constructive symbiotic state. Identity placed on the temporary degrading physical construct body is equivalent to imprisonment of the divine spark within. Identity placed on the eternal astral energy body for egoic self-preservation is equivalent to containment for utilization of the divine spark within. Identity placed on the divine spark within aligns the physical and astral bodies to their role of intended divine purpose as a temple and expression of the host spark. There is opportunity to make a choice. Will you be imprisoned, contained, or liberated? Will you choose to remember? You are spark. You are from source. You are spark. End of Spark Primer, Lemuria and Atlantis Love and War Program Analysis.